Greetings, friends and future friends. Today's video is on the Korg Nautilus. Now, a few weeks ago, I got a question in the comments, and someone said, "Hey, John, how do you assign different sounds to different zones on the key bed of the Korg Nautilus? How do you do that?" Well, there's some different ways of doing it, but I'm going to show you how I do it. So, let's get in the studio and see how those things work. We now have the Korg Nautilus all started up and ready to go. And the first thing we're going to want to do is go to set list. Now in this tutorial, I want to show you how you can assign sounds to different zones in the key bed of this Korg Nautilus. So let's start out with our Italian grand piano, and we're going to bring up programs. And you can see we have two sounds. Now the big thing to look at is right here where it says EXI1 and EXI2. Remember, the EXI1 is on top and the EXI2 is on the bottom. That's going to be very important when we go to this next step. Now what we want to do is hit page on the deck of the keyboard, go to basic X to Y controllers, and boom, we bring up this screen. It's called Program Basic. If you look down here, it's Program Basic. What you have is EXI1 on top and EXI2 on the bottom. And it's basically telling you right there that both these sounds are being played from C-1 to G9. So it's basically a layered sound. And if we want to change that and say we want the top piano, which would be, if we go back to programs, the Italian grand piano, dark, we only want that on the bottom. So what we can do is we'll go back to our page, basic XY controller, and we can put that on the bottom. So we're going to go over here and touch that and bring that down to C4. Now you can see this pink line is moving. And what that's doing is telling you, okay, you've just moved the area, the zone, you just changed the zone of where EXI1 is going to be played. So now EXI1 and EXI2 is being played from C1 to C4. But above C4, the only keyboard being played is EXI2 because we have that going to C-1 to G9. So this is actually semi-layered. But if we go over to here and we go to the bottom and we bring that, and we're going to make that go up a little bit above the C4. So we're going to make that go C4. Where's our fours? They're coming up. Okay, C4, D4. So now we have C sharp 4. So now you can see how these lines have changed and how there's a space over here and a space over there. So bottom line, what you have here now is that EXI1 is only playing from C-1 to C4, where you can see that red line, and that EXI2 is playing from C sharp 4 to G9, which is over here. So now, theoretically, you have a split keyboard. Now the bottom end is playing. So basically what we have, if we go back to programs, this keyboard is all the key being played, everything below C4, and this keyboard is playing, that sound is being played on all the notes above C4. And what you've done, going back to this, basically you have split those two keyboards. Now what I want to do is I want to show you another way of looking at this. And let's go over here and change this bottom keyboard. Let's create a poly 6 on the bottom of that. And let's bring this down because I know that poly 6 is going to be a little bit loud. But let's see what we have. And let's bring that down a little bit more. We'll bring it down about, say, 82. Cool. Now, what do? We go hit page on the deck of the keyboard. We come over here, go to basic XY, and we can see that we have both sounds. Remember, the top sound, the EFI 1 and the EXI 2 are different. On the bottom, the 2 is actually a Poly 6, and the EXI 1 is actually a piano. So go back to where we were. So what we have is it layered. So the whole length of the keyboard from C-1 to G9, it's playing a synth and a keyboard and a piano. But what if we want to change that and we want to put the synth on the bottom? So we'll come over here and we'll make this synth only go to C4, and we'll back that down to C4. There's A4, there's C4, and we'll take the piano and we'll bring that above C4, and we'll make that C#4. So now what do we just do? We actually split that. So what we have on the bottom end is the synth, and on the top what we have is the piano. And if we go up, and we have this split at C4. So we actually, in this arrangement, actually have created two different sounds with two different zones. So again, this is playing the bottom zone and this is playing the top zone. And this is in a program. Of course, we can do more when we go into combinations, but this is just one thing I wanted to show you, that even in a program, you can have two sounds and they're split. We're now back at the Italian Grand Piano program. Now, what I want to show you is down here, and we go to Quick Layer. We tap on that. Now, what is happening right now is it automatically defaulted to bring in these violins. And if you look, the yellow line and the blue line, it's all together. And what that means is now through the whole keyboard, we have violin strings and the Italian Grand Piano. Let's bring that violin down a little bit. So what we have is these sounds. But really what you have is, because remember, when we go back to program, go cancel this, there's two sounds right here that are being played. So when you go into Quick Layer, you're actually going to be playing three sounds, up to three sounds. Now, whatever this program is, it could be just one sound, but there could be two sounds there. Now, with this Quick Layer, we've added a third sound. Now, and it's a layer. But here's a really cool thing about this. This is a layer mode, and it's always going to create a layer. But what you can do, now you don't see anything right here, and this is the real sneaky thing about it, a little trick to it. You can see that the zone is off. Now, if we click on the zone and we go to lower, now you're going to see that the yellow line has gone to the lower side of the key bed, and over here, this little box shows up and it says C5. Well, you know we like C4. So we're going to go down to C4. So now what has happened is now the violins are on the bottom end. Where there is no violins on the top end. And you now have a split in that layer. This is in the layer mode, so you're always going to have a layer. Now, if we go over here and we tap on this and we go upper, now we've just switched it around, and now the violin is on the top end. There's no piano on the bottom, but there is on the top end. So the takeaway from all this is that this is going to create a layer. Whether you layer it up on top or on the bottom will depend on this right here. If we turn that off, it's going to layer the whole keyboard. But if we go over here and select lower or we select upper, it's going to layer all that sound, this sound right here, the secondary sound, to the top or the bottom, whichever you select. And remember also, like I said, the little trick is when this is off, you're not going to see this box. So sometimes that might confuse you. You say, hey, where's the split at? Well, you have to come over here, touch on lower, and there you go. Now we can split that layer. So if we go over here to quick split, that's even simpler, because basically what we're doing now, we have a bass line, the fingered bass on the bottom end, and we have the piano on the top end. And it's real simple. You'll see right here in the middle, C4 is the middle point. And if we change that, you'll see the yellow line. You're going to see it go down, and it goes down, because now the split point is here. And if we bring it back up to C4, bring it up to C4, right there should be it. Now we're at C4, right in the middle of the keyboard. And this is pretty simple. And again, remember, in this preset, we had two sounds, and those two sounds were sitting here, and they were adding to this sound. So theoretically, you have three sounds going on, and it's a real easy way to split this keyboard right there. Now, I want to show you another little trick. So we know we have this Italian grand piano sound here, but let's bring this up, change this bottom sound to a Poly 6. And we'll go over there and we'll bring that volume down a little bit. And now what we should have is actually the synth sound and the piano sound on both, the whole key bed itself. And if we hit page, basic XY controllers, we can see that both of them are going from C-1 to G9. But let's do something. Let's take the top of that synth and let's bring it down to C4 and make that C4. Where's C4? Come on, C4. And there's C4 right there. And then we're going to take the bottom of the piano and bring that up. And bring that up. Well, let's bring that up to C#4. Actually, we'll make that the D4. We'll have a little jump in there. So we now have the piano on the top and the Poly 6 on the bottom. And if we go to quick layer, you're going to see that in the yellow, we have the studio violins, the whole length of the keyboard, and our sound right here on the bottom playing the whole length. But remember, we split this up. So what we have here in all reality is we have studio violins on the piano, and we also have studio violins on the synth. So that might be a cool sound that you're looking for. But remember, we can go over here and let's just put the violin sound on the piano. We'll go upper. We'll go to C4. Now the synth is by itself on the bottom end. And the piano on the top end will have the strings. So the takeaway from this is whatever, when you cancel out of this, whatever way you have this set up, and even when we go back to this, whatever you have this set up in that program, going back here, when you go to quick layer, that's going to stay intact in this layer right here. So theoretically, we actually have three sounds going on. We have that synth on the bottom. We have the piano and the violin on the top. And this is how you have a quick layer. So now let's go to quick split. And what are we going to have? Well, we know already that in Italian grand piano, we have the synth going from C4 down. And we can see right here that the bass line is on C4. So right now, we've got the piano and we have the bass guitar going on. So all we have is the two sounds. But here I want to show you a trick. What we're going to do is we're going to go from here and we're going to drop that down to, let's go down to C. So there we go. We got this down to C2. And that means all the way down here. So now what did we just do? We took the cutoff of this fingered bass and took it down to C2. So now what's happening is the piano is playing the piano parts above, and then at C4 it goes down to a synth. Then at C2 it goes down to the bass. And what we're going to do here is we're going to make this, bring that up an octave. So now we have the bass down here. And it's breaking off at C2. So in this layout right here, we know that in the piano, we have C4 and above is the piano, C4 and below is the synth, and then in this setup, in this split, we know that the bass guitar is at C2 and below. So then I can play the bass line. And on the other side, I have the piano. Really cool. So again, you think of the mechanics of this. I want to do a real quick takeaway again. So in this setup right here, we'll go back, cancel out. We know that we went here, we set this up, and we have that, okay, what's happening is from D4 to G9 is the piano. From C-1 to C4 is the synthesizer. Awesome. So we know that from C4 down is the synthesizer. So what is the takeaway? To give you a little review. We have the piano on the top, the keyboard on the bottom. If we go in here, basic XY controllers, we have the piano going from D4 to G9, the synthesizer going from C-1 to C4. That split is taking place right now. So let's go back to programs. Now if we go to quick split, we're actually now saying, okay, great. From C4 or D4 up is the piano. From C4 down is the bass or the synthesizer. And then from C2, what we set this little crossover is playing the bass. And because we dropped it down so far, we had to bring it up right here, bring it up an octave. And what you have is you have the bass on the bottom, the synthesizer in the middle, and the piano on the top. All right, now we're in the combination mode. And even though it's more intense, it's actually pretty easy. So we're in the combination mode, and you have your status, play, mute, all that, and your volume control. And in this preset, I have 8 sounds, and then if we go 9/16, then on the 10th track, we have drums. Let's go back to 1 through 8. So these are all different sounds. So it's pretty easy. You go over here to page, bring it up, and you see MIDI filter and zones. Click on that, go over here and go keyboard zones. And now you have the splits of all these different notes or all these different sounds. And theoretically, you could give 16 of these sounds, each one of these sounds, a segment on this key bed. And if we go here, we can look at sound 1. It's actually going from A4 to D2. And if we light it up, you can see right there, it's going from D2 to A4. And if we go over here, now that yellow line changed to the second sound. And that second sound is going from C-1 to C+, 2, C sharp 2. So what's happening here is all these parameters can be changed, and you can actually set the zone from the top note, the top key, to the bottom key. And what that does is tell you, okay, we're going to play these sounds from here to there. That sound will not be played. So in other words, this second sound will not be played higher than C sharp 2. Anything playing C sharp 2 is going to play another note. And if we go to 3 and 4, you can see how this is all staggered up here, because that's telling you, okay, these are all the different sounds that you assigned a different zone to. And these bottom ones, we knew that we were only playing 8 sounds. I think 9, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and 16. These ones in the bottom we're not even using. So they've got a line going the whole way across. And you got 2 things to look at. When you're over here, you touch this, you're going to see this move, because now we're on sound 1. Now we're on sound 2. So this lights up and this lights up, telling you what sound you're on. And from there, it's kind of self-explanatory. You can actually create different zones on that keyboard. And like I said at the beginning of this, you could actually create, if you made it small enough, you could actually put all these sounds, 16 different sounds, in one combination that you would play to have that sound only be played in that zone. So now if you watch right here, I'm just going to give you a real quick example on this preset, this combination, all the different sounds that are in this preset. Really cool. All those different sounds are actually on the key bed. And if we add some drums, see what we have here. Really cool. And you could see when I was showing you all the different notes I'm hitting. And again, going down here, you can see that all these different sounds are set to different zones on the key bed. And in a performance situation, and you wanted to have 3 or 4 sounds, you could bring it up in a combination and know that, hey, from C4 up or C5 up, I have this keyboard sound. Or even if you want to have a full piano, but you want to have a synth sound at the very end, you can go down there and change that. You could make that zone down at the end. And with that, you can create 16 different zones with 16 different sounds. All right, I'm going to take you down a little side road here, because this could happen, or you could have a problem in doing this. So say you are working in this sound 1 and you get it to a certain zone, or whatever sound you're working with, 1 through 16, and you don't quite like it. And what will happen is, if you have this in a zone that is too low for that sound, it might not sound good. So we have sound 1 brought up. So what you're going to do is hit page again on the deck of the keyboard and go to timbre parameter. And then you're going to have MIDI, oscillator, pitch, delay, wave sequence, EXI audio input. We're going to go to pitch. Now, right here, you're going to see, actually that pitch is up 12. And if I play that, but watch when I change it. Now it's actually an octave higher than it was. And if I go up another 12, you go up here, and you can do, we'll bring it back down to 12 again, where it was. Now, quick, let's go back. We'll go back to this, hit MIDI filters and zones. You change the zone. You have this thing on a lower key or a higher key or whatever you want to do. That sound just doesn't sound right. It's too low or it's too high. Then hit that page button again, go over to timbre parameters, go to pitch, and now right under here, transpose. You can actually transpose that sound up, half step. So it's at plus 12, which means it's up an octave. And again, if I play it, it sounds really good. But if I brought it up to 24, which would be an octave higher, you can hear it change. So that's one thing you want to keep in mind, that when you assign these zones and the sound isn't where it should be, you can adjust the pitch in this screen right here. And again, that's in timbre parameters. You got MIDI, oscillator, pitch, delay, wave sequence, EXI audio input, and boom, pitch. And this way you can adjust that sound to be the right pitch in that zone that you actually assigned it to. So I hope this video gave you a little bit more information on how to assign different sounds to different zones on the key bed of the Korg Nautilus. It's a great function to use. Also, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please subscribe. You'll help us grow the channel. That way we can bring you more cool stuff. So take care, my friends, and thanks for watching.